You're relying so much on the fact that you're a black man to justify you repurposing slave quarters, and you conveniently leaving out the fact that your mom is white.
So when I bought my house, one of the main reasons was because it came with a guest house.
What?
But the idea of staying in a guest house that used to be a former slave headquarters is genuinely so insane and horrifying.
The most common slave house was a simple log cabin.
Old school log cabin style guest house.
No such thing as a life that's better than yours. No such thing as a life that's better than yours. No such thing, no such thing.
Jumbo everyone, welcome back, and in today's video, yet again, I am going to be talking about something controversial. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about it's more than just a guest house. So recently, if you haven't been on the internet, you know I've kind of been doom scrolling on TikTok because who knows if it's going to be here tomorrow or not. Jalen Noble decided to post a video talking about guest house tour. That guest house consisted of being slave quarters.
So when I bought my house, one of the main reasons was because it came with a guest house. This guest house was built in 1850, and today I want to give you a tour. And what makes it so unique is that it's got everything you possibly could need in it. It's that close to the main house, but this is the front door. You've got an entire first floor with a loft-style bedroom upstairs, but I'm going to go into the details. It's got pretty much everything you need: an espresso machine, a microwave, electric stovetop, nice sink, cabinets. It's got a fridge, washer and dryer, some storage, and then a full bath, even a filtered shower head, Jolie skin. And I'm trying to figure out spacing in here. I think a couch would have been great, but I also want to put a dining table, so I know the couch probably has to be pushed somewhere against that wall. TV here. I don't know. So if you got any suggestions, please let me know. And this is where we sleep. It's got HVAC on it, so it gets hot in here, it gets cold in here. Beautiful views. Full-size bed can sleep 2 people, or a person and 2 dogs. Really cool mantelpiece, awesome chandelier. That's what we just came from, and this is the guest house. The old school log cabin style guest house is just another way that I can have family and friends over. They can stay as long as they want, and I don't have to get sick of them, and they don't have to get sick of me. So yeah.
And again, in the comments, I wasn't even going to make this video until I saw the comments. To not take something seriously, such as slave quarters, just shows how much whitewashing of history, more specifically black history, goes on. You being a biracial man, you can claim that you're a black man all you want, you are biracial. And by me saying that, I understand the one drop rule. I've made videos on that. I've made videos about black people going extinct and what the new standard of being black is going to look like, aka a lot of light-skinned biracial people. But what I'm more specifically talking about is how you're trying to use your leverage of being a black man over trying to joke about slave quarters being your guest house. Don't get me wrong, I love Monet. Their relationship, very cute. I'm not saying nothing about that. But if we continue to put these people on a pedestal and never be able to criticize the things that they're doing, how are they ever going to learn? I've said so many times, more specifically with the relationships that I've had in the past and issues that people have with me, if you never make me aware of the issue, how am I ever supposed to fix the problem at hand? This is exactly what I'm talking about. With the creators that people look up to, why wouldn't you criticize them? They're human, just like us. Therefore, Jalen, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, you need to be criticized. You posting your slave quarters as your guest house, I just want to talk about how it goes so much deeper than that. Like I said, the main reason why I'm making this video in the first place wasn't because of the actual video, was because of the comments. In the comments, people are literally trying to tell him, hey, this is not that cool. People are literally making jokes about Massa, I want to be in the house. All this other stuff, we'll go through the comments later, but just his attitude towards it, and even the comments that he's putting under people's videos that they're making about him, do fucking better. Do better. As a former African American and African Studies plus history major, I used to be a double major in this shit. This is what I was literally going to school for. I did this major for what, over 2 years? And with learning all the things that I've learned, it really is that deep. It really does go deeper than the surface level that you're trying to say of, oh, it's just a guest house. No, it's not.
I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on slave quarters as a guest house. Can you imagine going to visit your friend and you're gonna stay with them for a little bit and this motherfucker puts you up in slave quarters? What the fuck? Like, I'm firmly of the belief that, like, slave quarters that still exist should only still exist to serve some kind of, like, commemorative or museum-like purpose. That motherfucker should never be repurposed to anything else. You need a guest house on your property, knock the slave quarters down and build a fucking guest house. That's crazy. And then to be like, oh, in the comments, joking, Aki King, I'm a black man. We's free now, massa. Your mama's white as fuck and it shows. That shit is just so crazy. And it left the nastiest taste in my mouth. And then to be acting like people who are like, this is distasteful and weird as fuck. And like, Yeah, you can do it, but why do you want to? And then to be all sassy with them in the comments thinking you're eating people up for being like, this is fucking weird. And then to turn around and be like, I'm a black man, I can do this. The question is, as a black man, why do you want to? You're relying so much on the fact that you're a black man to justify you repurposing slave quarters, and you conveniently leaving out the fact that your mom is white. That shit is crazy. But you know what? It's your money. You do what you want, I suppose. That shit's just weird as fuck.
The insensitivity that comes with joking around a topic serious as slavery, it needs to be addressed. And we get it. You're a black man, but baby, let's be real. You have a white mama. I can go into a whole other YouTube video talking about you can tell the differences of biracial men who were raised by white women and biracial men who were raised by black women. More specifically, just biracial people in general. If you have a black mama, it shows. But when you have a white mama, your white privilege and your, closeness to white proximity, that shows as well. Like I said, I love Monet. I love the content that she puts out. But sometimes if you got a man embarrassing you like that, come on, girl. But then in the same breath, I am kind of side-eyeing you, Monet. I have to be honest. Like, that's your man. Your partner is a reflection of you. So him making this video and posting it, even just referring to it as a guest house, the fact that he wasn't even trying to be like, you guys, I know that this is a serious and heavy topic, and I just wanted to show how this building was repurposed on my property that I bought. If he would have just went about it like that, nobody would even be saying anything. But it's the fact that you sat there and joked about something as serious as slave quarters being your guest house. That's the issue that I have. So this is gonna be a little history lesson. Strap up, get ready to listen, because I'm gonna be telling y'all why this goes so much deeper than it just being a guest house, because it's not. The fact that you couldn't even tear it down, or more specifically, if you wanted to keep it, to preserve it for history and be like, y'all, I understand that my house could be a part of an important history, whatever, I get that. But it's the fact that you repurposed it, and the repurposing isn't even that good. I know you can still hear the chatter of my ancestors in there. Oh my God. So what I'm going to be doing right now is reading over National Geographic, basically what they're talking about in terms of what slave quarters were. So when looking at this picture, we can see the different types of houses that would be used in slave quarters. So when reading this, it says one of the most enduring symbols of Plantation South was the presence of slave quarters. The quarters could be arranged from a haphazard arrangement of rude log cabins to rows of neat one-room frame buildings. These dwellings were also a reminder that one group's enslavement was the reason for another's prosperity. When African slaves first arrived in the United States, housing consisted of large buildings with bunks, similar to military barracks. But as African American slaves began having families of their own, their need for private or semi-private dwellings began to increase. The most common slave house was a simple log cabin.
Old school log cabin style guest house.
Cheap and easy to build. Most slave quarter cabins consisted of a single room with a wood chimney. This type of chimney was also a safety precaution. If the chimney caught fire, it could be knocked down and replaced. Floors were often dirt. There were openings for light and air that ranged from a simple shutter to actual windows. A single fireplace provided heat for cooking and warmth. Then looking on the right side of the page, we can see the map that comes along with the slave quarters. So you could see that there's the main house, the kitchen, even like a carriage house, blacksmith, barnyard, family chapel, and then the second house. All of this is in one area. Then on the whole other side of the property, we have a privy, which I'm guessing is going to be like a bathroom, slave quarters, the overseer's house, basically people who are in shifts and they're overseeing, making sure that people are not escaping. And then on top of that, you have the slave chapel and then a cotton gin, because Christianity was heavily pushed back then, just because of, especially I've talked about this in my video on why black people shouldn't be Christians. Essentially that whole video was talking about how a lot of the things that we learn is rooted in slavery, and the Bible even back then talked about how slaves should worship their master. So it's little things like that where it's especially, a man-made book is telling me how to live my life. Like, no. That's why I say a lot of the times I'm very spiritual and I don't, believe in all that, but that is for that video. If you want to go see that, go check it out. I think this is the most important reason why I'm making this video in the first place, is to talk about the hierarchy between slavery and why it's so dangerous for Jalen to talk about his guest house being a guest house when it's really slave quarters. So basically it says, slave quarters ranged in size, materials, and styles. The location of a house might also provide a clue as to the slave status. House slaves, aka people who were usually light-skinned, considered to be at the top of slave hierarchy, often lived in homes close to the slave owner. Field hands, more specifically dark-skinned slaves, often considered to be at the bottom of the hierarchy. What does that sound like? What does that sound like? Colorism. Might live in cabins closer to fields. Some plantations arranged quarters side by side along a street, while others were grouped much like in a tiny village. Some cabins were one family, while others employed a model in which two families were housed in separate quarters but shared shared a central passage. The interior of most slave quarter cabins was sparse, with little in the way of furniture or decoration. Water was provided from wells or from rainwater collected in large cisterns? I don't know. To be used for cooking, washing, and other needs. On many plantations, separate privies were constructed for slaves to use. So I think even just looking at this illustration, this is probably the best illustration that I can have in terms of talking about why this is such an important topic and why we shouldn't just be joking about it being a guest house. This is why. And like I said, the reason why I wanted to make this video is just because his comments were so disgusting. Last night I had the urge to download the video and take screenshots of his comments just in case he wanted to backpedal a little bit, because I want to remind y'all the internet is forever. What you put out there, it will be out there forever. So for Jalen, for you to have insensitive comments about a slave quarter being your guest house, and you are a light-skinned biracial man who benefits from the way you look, you're pretty a pretty man, you're a beautiful man, so you benefit from not only being biracial, which means that, you know, you can benefit from black culture, but at the same time you're closer in proximity to the white man than a lot of us are. So that's also where I want you to check your privilege. And the fact that you're saying this in the first place, that's the only reason why I'm coming for you right now, because we need to take this more seriously. I have said so many times that biracial people will never understand the full scope of what black people go through, and I'm not saying that's their fault, but where I say it is their fault is when they don't take the time to learn about the harmful things that they're saying and how that can affect someone, more specifically in the black community. This is exactly what I talked about in my Black People Are Going Extinct video, and that's exactly the plan, is to sit there and whitewash our black history. We know damn well that those are slave quarters. So for the fact of you to sit up here and then use the excuse of, oh, I'm a black man, I'm in the house now. Okay, we can make jokes like that, kiki kaka, cool. But the fact that you even like, why keep it? Like, why keep it? I get you want to preserve history, but if you're going to preserve it, keep it the way that it is and build a separate fucking thing on top of it. Or I know I wouldn't be comfortable if my friend gonna put me out in motherfucking slave quarters talking about guest house. What? And then on top of that, for you to double down and talk about you being a black man, you are biracial. Yes, you are considered black in society, but let's be real. You are biracial and you benefit from being biracial. You have a white ass mama. Check yourself and check your privilege. And like I said, unless you really go out of your way to learn this history, the American school system has failed us. We brush over slavery. We don't actually learn the real things in slavery until fucking TikTok came around, and we learned just about everything rooted in today's time is rooted in slavery in some type of way. So yes, that is why I am so up in arms and feeling the way that I do and the emotions that I do, because people like this continue to get away with doing racist shit like this and we just laugh it off. It's not funny. It's not funny. We need to hold these people accountable. What the fuck? And this is a really big assumption that I could be, you know, having, but I'm just gonna assume Jalen doesn't look at dark-skinned black women as equal. Oops, I let the cat out the bag. I'm just saying that in terms of, if you did, you would not see all the things that black women more specifically have endured because of slavery and go and make a joking video like that. You don't know what happened in that house. I wouldn't even call it a house because it's not even a house. In those slave quarters, you don't know the history of what happened. And you're gonna sit up here on the internet, on black women's internet, and make jokes like that. I don't know how many times I have to say. And if you understand your privilege, I'm not talking about you. But more specifically, biracial people benefit the most in white society in terms, hear me out, they are able to emulate black culture, which means be in proximity to black people, know black culture without it being, oh, they're appropriating our culture, while in the same time being closest to the white man because somebody in your family or your parent is white. If you're going to have something important such as history on your land, and then he even said a comment somewhere where that was the main reason why he bought the house in the first place was because of the guest house. You're telling me you sat up there and said, yeah, they have slave quarters in this bitch. I'm finna buy this house. What? Come on. Let's just read through the comments real quick, okay? We're just gonna do a screen recording of the comments and just going through it real quick because ain't no fucking way.
So I just bought my dream house in Austin, Texas.
No, give me the guest house.
So when I bought my house, one of the main reasons was because it came with a guest house.
What? And then you're gonna show the frame. Oh my god, I don't know why I'm showing the camera. You're gonna show the frame of the house. Oh my, that porch, y'all. Oh my god. Jalen, based on the year it was made, I don't think it was a guest house. I was born by the river. And he's sitting here liking the comments. These comments are killing me. I'm sure this house has a lot of history. Don't piss me off. I didn't even see this one. Blake Lively would love this. The comment section has me in shackles. I mean shambles. I got a key. Were the original guests able to leave? Probably not. I talk to them daily. They say they're happy for me. You mean slave quarters, silly. Silly me. I don't think these people wanted to be a guest there. You might be right. It's like the condescending nature of it, and I really want to find the comment right here. He replied. He commented on it because I saw it and I was like, what the fuck? You're weird. Where the girl said, guest house more like haunted house, and I will be putting it in here.
Maybe I'm just too much of an energy person or just paid attention in school when they were talking about slavery, but the idea of staying in a guest house that used to be a former slave headquarters is genuinely so insane and horrifying. And to say that the reason why you specifically bought this house is because it had this guest house, no words. Like the fact that it is still the same like house structure, the same wood, the same skeleton that literally housed enslaved people at their lowest points, and you're like walking around making it a guest house, having like a buffalo taxidermy. This is just so insane to me. Like, I really just cannot comprehend, like, how do you keep this on your property? Wow. Exactly this. His replies in the comments are beyond vile and disgusting, and just proves that he is an absolute weirdo. Because for you to be making light of the fact that people were literally enslaved living in this house, and you're just turning it into a guest house, is absolutely disgusting. Like, this is a wildly inappropriate comment to make about one of the most horrifying things that happened in history to his people, or at least half of his people. And the fact that these comments are being made 3 days away from Martin Luther King Day, it's absolutely insane. The lack of respect that people have for the history of slavery and what happened to people in this country. You never see any other race joking like this about their genocide. You never see this kind of stuff about the Holocaust. Only about slavery. It's really insane to me.
But him saying you ate with this one. She said, I'm confused by your responses here. Because what do you mean by that? What do you mean? I'm just utterly disgusted at the fact that we keep pedestalizing people like this that can't even take Black history seriously when you're part Black.
What I'm trying to say is, no one would have fried y'all up for buying the plantation. That's what's so crazy. No one would have said nothing if y'all had been like, hey, yo, so we bought some land, you feel me? And it used to be a plantation, but we're Black, okay? So we finna just do our little dougie on this shit. We've, shout out to our ancestors. They did their biggest one. It's the fact that motherfuckers got on here with the slave quarters talking about, and this my guest house. Like, well, what is any of us supposed to say? You got a shack that was built before the slaves was freed. Talking about my motherfucking guest house? Baby, that is where they had them. That is where they had them people, unironically. And you, unironically, getting on TikTok and being like, my motherfucking guest house. Honestly, thank God. We needed something to laugh at. Y'all, this is... That's that biracial shit, blood. Cause ain't no, I swear to God, that's y'all do be eating y'all little ones and twos. Cause ain't nobody would have gone here. Like, I just refuse to believe a Black person, a full Black person with 2 Black parents, regardless of skin tone, would have gone on here and been like, so my guest house, built in 1850 in the motherfucking South. And yeah, it still looked like a motherfucking slave shack, but this is my guest house. Look at the inside. Ooh, 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 ooh. Anyways, when I got on here, like, yeah, so we bought a plantation, blood, and you feel me? This where our people was at, but we tricked this bitch out, like.
No one forced you to show the house. No one forced you. I didn't even know he had a guest house until he showed it. My thing is you could have showed it with at least some empathy, with at least some acknowledgement of knowing the history behind it, but you want to sit up here and talk about it being a guest house. Ain't no guest sleeping in there. You think I want to sleep in the motherfucking slave quarters? Don't play with me. Don't play with me. And I know y'all like, you wouldn't get invited in the first place. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I don't care about being invited to Jalen Noble's house. What I'm talking about is that we need to be more sensitive about what we put online and who it can affect. Because like I said, You are a biracial man. Yes, you are considered black to society because you have black phenotype and all that other stuff in the one drop rule, which I've made videos about in the past. The thing I'm talking about is that you couldn't even have some type of empathy when talking about it. Talking about we repurposed it, we redid it. This is, I don't care about the inside. I don't care about the inside because I know deep down what that history is. And I know this is something that he didn't even think about, but just think about it. What if one of the descendants of who lived there is watching your video right now and you're sitting here being kiki kaka about it? Then he also wants to sit here and talk about how he slept in the big house because it's his property now. We need to stop making slavery jokes that are that harmful. I get it here and there talking about we free, but doing shit like this, talking about, oh, I have a guest house when it's really a slave quarter, I'm not playing like that. I'm not. Again, the main reason why I wanted to make this video is to show y'all how harmful it can be to joke about things like this. Slave quarters and even just slavery in general is not something to joke about. Every day we find out something new that was linked to slavery and how it relates to today's time. Colorism was built in slavery. The hierarchy of slaves, that is the hierarchy we see within the black community today and why we fight over so many stupid things, because they pinned us against each other to make sure that we wouldn't form against them. Let's think about that. This is what my ancestors had to endure. And the fact that you sit up here and joke about it being a guest house, more specifically in the comments, it's not funny. And a lot of people who truly don't understand the depths of history will call me sensitive and will say I'm overreacting. But you didn't endure what my ancestors did. So unless you get that rage, my ancestors told me to film this video today. That's why they gave me the video idea to film this in the first place, because we need to stop joking about shit like this, because this isn't funny and I'm not laughing. Again, you can go check out my other videos where I talk about colorism and biracialism and all those sorts of things, where I talk about the one drop rule and how that affected biracial identity, and more specifically the video that I just posted talking about black people going extinct, and that's exactly the plan. I'm gonna stop yapping because I feel like I'm gonna get even more mad if I keep doing it, but I really hope y'all enjoyed this video and I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye y'all.
When you lead me to the ark was the last one.